Welcome back to the Big Sunday Show. President Biden is set to meet with China's President Xi Jinping tomorrow at the G20 as he pushes his climate change agenda while overseas. But before he left, Biden said he's not changing a thing after the midterms.
What in the next 2 years do you intend to do differently to change people's opinion of the direction of the country, particularly as you contemplate a run for president in 2024?
Nothing.
And today, the White House doubled down while promising more of one thing: spending.
The reality is that a lot of communities across the country haven't felt the effects on this yet because it takes a little time to implement these things. The president likes to say they haven't felt it yet. That's true. They haven't felt a lot of this yet. The debt ceiling needs to be lifted. It should be. It needs to happen again, obviously, sometime next year.
Oh, I have a feeling the floodgates are about to open on spending and a whole lot of other things. But Charlie, we talked about this yesterday. I want to revisit that conversation. The Democrats, this election was supposed to be kind of a day of reckoning, a referendum on their horrible policies. The majority of Americans are not happy with what's going on in the country. They still voted Democrat. But now is the Democrat agenda, which has failed Americans, is it now full steam ahead? Or do you think that there's going to be a pause, maybe a look in the mirror moment, a come to Jesus moment where Democrats say, you know, we won, but people are still unhappy? Do we have any hope for something like that, or are we just out of luck?
I would love to think that Democrats are smart enough to do that. I would love to think that the Democrat Party we have today is like the old Democrat Party of Bill Clinton, but that's not the Democrat Party we have today. There is no indication that they've learned anything. Joe Biden says no change. Chuck Schumer this morning was talking about he felt a great vindication about not losing as badly as he thought he would. No, these people, they're in denial. I don't think they're going to change anything. And the only thing that the only sort of message out of this is that Republicans failed to make the case. When you go through whether it's crime or inflation or gas prices, there's no question about the result, about these issues and how they are a direct result of these policies. The failure was for Republicans, failed to make the case that we'll fix this.
Jackie, I want to ask you about this as well. You know, we're still waiting to see what the shakeup is going to be with the numbers, whether we are, in fact, going to take the House. If we don't, that's going to be mighty embarrassing. But now, even if we do have a majority in the House, do we have an opportunity to do anything to show the American people that Republicans have solutions? Is there anything we can do with a slim majority or no majority at all heading into 2024 that, hey, we can do something about this?
It's going to be tough to do anything to be proactive about it. But what Wall Street praised this week with that 1,200-point day on the Dow was the fact that if Republicans do take the House, at least they can block more spending, or they could block the climate change agenda a little bit. And I think that's what people are thinking. They do see President Biden coming onto the world stage and openly being defiant. I mean, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I do think it was about a plan and not necessarily having that plan or being very clear about what it entailed and if everybody was on the same page. But I also think it was about issues, right? Abortion became a much bigger issue than anybody anticipated. And a lot of people who said, well, you know, I am really worried about inflation. I do care about inflation, but I care about abortion more. And that is how they voted. Or the people, you know, the young people who came out to vote and that promise of making sure that their student loans, $10,000 to $20,000 was going to be forgiven. And they said, I like free stuff, so I'm going to go in this direction. I think there were some caveats to this election that the Republicans weren't necessarily anticipating that had a pretty big impact too. But if you see the Republicans get the House as anticipated and they block spending, maybe we have a chance to try to get out of some of this.
Well, we have all eyes on international relations as well that Biden has fumbled on, if you just have eyes and ears. But headed into tomorrow's meeting with China's president, Biden is feeling mighty confident. Let's take a listen.
I know I'm coming in stronger, but I don't need that. I know Xi Jinping. I spent more time with any other world leader. I know him well. He knows me. There's no, we have very little misunderstanding. We just got to figure out where the red lines are.
It's a good time to be China. I'm just going to say that. What is your take on what we're going to see tomorrow? Are we coming in as the United States with our president, whether you like him or not, from a position of strength? Or is China laughing at us along with the rest of the world?
You know, you'd think a guy that served as first lieutenant to President Obama probably wouldn't start regurgitating the red line policy. I mean, I think that maybe have a little bit of insight into how people respond to that. We can't get enough people to serve. Our military has holes in its strategy all over, from our cybersecurity, which China is stronger than us on, to even our Pacific Fleet. And we're trying to attack our own economy under the virtue of green energy. And I don't know how any of that creates strength. I mean, when we look at our own adversaries, what do we call strength among them? And then say, what do we do when they look at us? What are we doing to have those same strengths or to be stronger? And I think energy policy is a big one. Economy is a big one. National patriotism. Do the people in this country still want to fight for it? Those are things that make us strong, and we're in a bad place in all of them.
And are we willing to fight? The fight is another question to be had with other nations, tensions growing. Japan is upset right now. Of course, we've still got China, we've got Russia, we've got Ukraine. All of our enemies are getting stronger. All of our allies are getting, weary of where our leadership is. So I guess it's going to remain to be seen. What is our biggest national security threat? Is it Elon Musk? Is it climate change? Or is it actually the national security threats we face?
Our biggest national security threat is our own culture.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I will just say this. President Xi getting elected to his third term emboldens him.
Sure.
He's watching what's happening on a global stage. He's watching how we dealt with Vladimir Putin. And he's saying this might be the perfect time, as a matter of fact, to cross one of these Biden red lines.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.